Hello, and welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thank you very much for tuning in, spinning that dial in my direction, and joining me as I explore the amazing, incredible, diverse, interesting, wide world of pens. And we're starting out with something a little different. Hopefully you recognize the pen that's disassembled here. It's a Keras Vertex. I have a number of them. I like them all. And when I originally got it, I called it like the best number 6 nib holder that I have, and it still ranks up there. But in perusing Etsy, I came across this item. It's an Indian Kanwrite titanium flex nib in a Bach nib assembly. And as we know, Keras uses Bach nibs in their pens. This is an older one. The newer ones, they now engrave with a nice design and Keras on the nib. But this clear nib assembly will screw right into the section of this Vertex. Yes, it seats very, very well. So I have a Bach number 6 titanium nib and another Vertex. So we're going to check them out, see how this compares, see if it's worth the cost. Here's the listing on Etsy. Maybe it's something you might like. So a lot of people have talked about nibs. Titanium nibs seem to have a mixed reaction. I enjoy them for what they are, but I know what they're not. They're not a gold nib, but then they're titanium. So one of the features that I always felt was good about these Bach nib assemblies, you notice how the little knob there that goes inside the converter is recessed and surrounded by a ring. So when you put in this international standard converter, it seats very tightly, very well. And I think that's better than where you have some of these nib assemblies where it's just flat across there and the converter is not held in place as securely as they are on the Bach. So as soon as I touched nib to paper for the very first time, I like this nib. I find it smoother and easier to write with than the Bach titanium, which is saying a lot. This is an extra fine nib and it does do extra fine, but if you push it, it'll get to a 3B at least, like 1.5 or more millimeters there. It's smooth, soft, it's wet, it's everything you want. And the nice part about this type of titanium nib is you can use it like a regular nib, put no pressure on it, and you'll enjoy it as an extra fine nib. But if you want some flourishing in your writing, some character in your writing, put a little bit of pressure on it, and it will respond well. Great. So I've seen postings where people complain about seeing ink here in the section, which can gather between that nib collar and the actual section. And if your section is somewhat transparent or clear, like this one is, you can see the ink there. So that's one of the downsides to me to this Bock nib assembly is they should have an O-ring there at the bottom. I could have put one there. I could have put some silicone grease on it, but I didn't. But, you know, that doesn't really bother me too much. And when I take the pen apart, clean it out, I'll do that the next time I put it back together. There's always a solution after the fact. So the Bock Titanium does do a nice job. I haven't written with it much recently, but now that I'm comparing them side by side, I definitely think they're very similar nibs. So what really separates them is price. So the Bock Titanium is somewhere north of $65 US. Who knows whether they're going to pay shipping or not, whereas the Kanwrite is under $40 US. So that's a pretty significant difference, and it kind of reduces that cost of entry if you want to try a titanium nib in a pen. It's a number 6 nib, so it's going to fit a lot of pens, and if you don't have pens that take a Bock assembly, pull the nib, put it in a Jovo or whatever number 6 size nib that's in the pen you want to use. So I have a Tremel ink in both of these because I wanted a similar type of ink, and I think the Tremel inks work good, Chinese inks. This is the Jadeite Peacock. It has some sparkle to it, glitter. And this is just a standard brown, which I've used in other pens. And the flow is both good in these two pens, which is also nice, and I'm happy to see that. So after spending some time with both of these nibs, I've come to the conclusion that the Kanwrite Titanium is as good as the Bock Titanium nib. Here's some more scribbling and lines that I drew. As you can see, it opens up as much, if not more, and it has a fine line to extra fine line without any pressure. Handles script well. So, no reason why I wouldn't recommend it. So if you're interested in trying a titanium nib and you're willing to make the investment, yes, it's not a small investment. Probably costs more than a lot of pens that you might buy, but to me the fun part of fountain pens is exploring their many varieties, and nibs are one of those parts of the pen that are the most critical parts in regards to the writing enjoyment. And the titanium nib provides you with some interesting writing enjoyment. So we reached a conclusion of this video. I want to thank all of you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this look at an interesting nib. I certainly enjoyed it. I hope this video finds everyone safe, healthy, and happy, enjoying your pens, enjoy putting ink on paper. It is certainly something I enjoy. So like with vintage flex nibs, these titanium nibs put down a lot of ink. That's after this is set for a couple minutes. As you can see where I flexed a substantial amount of ink, and Fabriano paper is pretty absorbent. So when you write with these pens, you got to let that set for a while before it dries. We've reached the end of this video, and we will say bye. Until next time, enjoy your writing.